What is going on, everybody? How are you doing today? Welcome back to the channel. This is Movie Watch, where we talk horror, physical media, nostalgia. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. We are here
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
with another banging news update. I don't think people say banging anymore.
You said banging?
Boomer. I don't think people say boomer. I think it's boomer to say boomer now. I don't know. This is off to a terrible start. Either way, it has been a pretty good week for horror news and movie news in general. If you didn't already see, check out yesterday's video where I gave an update on Ari Aster's next project, Tarantino, and of course the Stranger Things Robert Englund update, which is awesome. So without further ado, let's get into today's stories. Today I'm going to be talking about the updates regarding Fright Night 2 and Gremlins 3. Now, these aren't announcements of this movie's getting ready to start filming and this is when it's being released. They're not hard updates like that. Hard updates, but we just got a little progress report on Gremlins 3 and the sequel to Fright Night. Where did that come from? Anyway. First up, we're going to be talking about Fright Night, the amazing 1985 campy vampire classic written and directed by Tom Holland, starring Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall, Amanda Beers, Stephen Jeffries. The cast is amazing. Y'all know it. Y'all love it. It's one of our favorite vampire movies, one of my favorite vampire movies of all time, reminiscent of Hitchcock's Rear Window and just a mishmash of kind of like old school type horror mixed with 80s camp vibe. Fright Night just had a little bit of everything. Of course, it was smack dab in the middle of the 80s, so of course it had just that campy 80s, super 80s feel, and Tom Holland's sensibilities growing up on Hammer films and the old Christopher Lee vampire films. It had kind of a throwback classic vibe to it as well, especially with Chris Sarandon's character, the way he portrayed his character, his sweaters. I like to think maybe I got a little bit of my sweater game from Chris Sarandon in Fright Night. The movie was released in 1985 and was a pretty modest hit at the time. Of course, it's grown on to be a massive cult classic to all of us horror fans. It's a beloved film. Now, Fright Night, of course, being successful, the studios wanted to get a sequel out as quick as possible. Tom Holland was busy working on Child's Play, so Tommy Lee Wallace was brought in to direct the second installment of Fright Night. If you didn't know, Tommy Lee Wallace directed Halloween 3 as well as a handful of other movies. Also, he was an uncredited stand-in for Nick Castle as Michael Myers in the original Halloween movie, which is pretty cool. I didn't know that actually until doing research for this video. So Fright Night 2, which I am actually a fan of, didn't do as well as the first one, but interesting to note, Tom Holland as well as Roddy McDowall had actually had a meeting set up with Jose Menendez, which was actually head of distribution for New Century Vista, which was a production company back in the 80s and 90s, and he was the father of the Menendez brothers. We all know what happened to Jose Menendez. He was killed by his sons. Of course, that meeting never happened due to the murders. I'll leave a couple links below with an article talking about that. It's pretty interesting to think that the Menendez trial and the Menendez murders has an association with Fright Night. It's pretty interesting to think about. So a pretty interesting little fun fact there. Now, due to rights issues, he wasn't able to just write a script for the movie and get it off the ground and direct it. It's been held up in some different kind of rights issues. So right now, the sequel exists in novel form. Apparently now he's about 30,000 words into a novelization sequel of Fright Night 2 called Fright Night 2: The Resurrection. Tom Holland goes on to say, quote, "I'm writing a sequel to Fright Night right now. I'm calling it Fright Night 2: Resurrection. Well, it's the only way to protect myself. If you want to see something done right, do it yourself. Of course, Charlie's back, and so is Evil Ed. I'm bringing back everybody I can. I'm calling it Resurrection because we've got to resurrect Billy Cole and Jerry Dandridge, and now I'll doing my own thing. I'm writing Fright Night 2: Resurrection, and I'm writing it as a novel right now," Holland said. And in the process, he's bringing back the other characters that the original film sequel forgot about. And yes, that means the vampires Jerry Dandridge and Evil Ed will be back too. The demand just kept growing and growing, Holland continued. I have a feeling that Charlie Brewster, who's older, but not that much older, maybe 10 years, comes back to Rancho Corvallis where his mother Judy passes away unexpectedly and he finds that new people have moved into the house next door. Supposedly, within the upcoming year, Tom Holland is supposed to regain the rights to Fright Night again, so hopefully that means that there will be a sequel. It sounds like he'll kind of be doing what seems to be quite popular right now, which is going back to the original film, skipping the subsequent sequels, and just going right into a direct sequel to the original film. It seems that that's kind of the direction that he wants to go in, kind of ignoring Fright Night 2, doing his own sequel, so I really hope this pans out. Also, you can go to Tom Holland's Terror Time website. He's got a bunch of cool autograph stuff like scripts, posters, Blu-rays, all kinds of things on his website that you could buy that are signed by him, which I thought was pretty cool. So definitely check that website. Definitely check that website out. And for now, that's the update we have on Fright Night 2. Now on to our second story, Gremlins 3. The classic 1984 horror comedy directed by Joe Dante and written by Chris Columbus is an absolute horror Christmas classic. If I do a Christmas horror movie list, I think Gremlins will be pretty high on that list. The original Gremlins came out in 1984, was directed by Joe Dante and written by Chris Columbus. Both writer and director were absolutely prolific in the 80s. Chris Columbus is an absolutely prolific writer-director. He's collaborated with John Hughes a lot. He wrote Gremlins 1 and 2, The Goonies, Christmas Chronicles 2. I don't know what's up with that. He also directed Adventures in Babysitting, Home Alone 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, Harry Potter, and Christmas Chronicles 2. I didn't know anything about Christmas Chronicles 1, let alone a sequel, until I was doing research for this video. I guess put a pin in that for now, but yikes. There have been talks of a potential sequel to Gremlins 2, Gremlins 3, for years and years. Rumors of the movie have been circulating in articles and videos for just years. Chris Columbus has brought it up over the years. How many times am I going to say years and years and years and years and years and years? We haven't really heard any sort of update at all in a very long time, until recently in an interview with Chris Columbus about his brand new feature, Christmas Chronicles 2. It looks awesome. What is Kurt Russell doing? I don't know. One of the big takeaways from the possibility of Gremlins 3 is the fact that Chris Columbus said he would use minimal CGI and go back to using puppets, animatronics, and stop-motion animation like he did in the first two, which would be absolutely incredible. I know people like myself, nobody wants to see a CGI Gizmo. There was something just absolutely amazing about seeing those little gremlin puppets in the original. It's just nothing. I've said it time and time again, and I think most horror fans are the same. Nothing compares to practical effects. Now, going back to the original Gremlins, it is just one of those rare, perfect movies from beginning to end. The editing, the lighting, the acting, the casting, everything about that movie was perfect, and part of that perfection was the practical effects. So I'm really stoked to hear that he would want to go back to an old school way, and he's an old school director, so I can definitely see why he would want to do that. So Chris Columbus goes on to say in his recent interview, "I would love to do it. I wrote a script, so there is an existing script. We're working out some rights issues right now, so we're just trying to figure out when the best time to make that film would be. I would still do it the same way. I would do it as tangible puppets, not CGI. Maybe having, we had one stop motion scene in the first Gremlins, but I didn't think I'd use much CGI in Gremlins 3. That's just amazing to hear that he would keep it practical. Unfortunately, that's all the news we have now, but him talking about trying to work out the rights issues, trying to figure out the right time to make it, actually gives us some hope that this movie may actually come to fruition. I really hope it does. All this stuff is pretty awesome. So guys, what do you think about Gremlins 3? What do you think about Fright Night 2? I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. Also, as I said in my last video, what do you guys think about Tarantino's next couple projects being books? Ari Aster's next project. We have Robert Englund joining Stranger Things 4. So many crazy things happening in horror. So drop me all of your thoughts in the comments below and let me know what you think. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Here in the next couple days, of course, I'll be posting my usual monthly top 10 steelbooks, top 10 horror releases, and my Blu-ray release videos. Those will be coming in just a few days, so stay tuned for those. Other than that, that's all I got, guys. Stay weird, and until next time, bye.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies. I love watching them, and I love making them.